On this episode of China Unscripted, how a Chinese food YouTuber became a target of censorship for the Chinese Communist Party. Welcome to China Unscripted. I'm Chris Chappell.
I'm Shelley Zhang.
And I'm Matt Gnesta.
And joining us today is Mike Chen of the YouTube show Strictly Dumpling. He's also an old friend. Mike, glad to have you here today.
Thanks, guys. Haven't seen you guys in many years.
Yeah, it's been a really long time. I wish the reunion was under better circumstances, but... Well, before we get into that, our audience is a little more Chinese politics, not necessarily Chinese cooking. Maybe they don't know too much about you or what you do. So why don't you give a rundown of who you are?
Well, basically, I just make travel food shows mainly. Pretty much that's about it. I don't dive too much into politics. So not as much as you guys, obviously. So I just try to keep the content pretty lighthearted. I love food. I just want to showcase that. I love culture. I love traveling. So that's the main theme of what I do.
Mm-hmm. And you also make a living as a Jackie Chan impersonator. Is that correct?
Well, apparently he is my long-lost father, according to many people. So if that is the case, I would like my claim in his will.
Good luck with that. Okay, so let's get down to it. Let's talk about the news that just happened to you. You were recently on the very famous YouTuber Nigel Ng, also known as Uncle Roger. You did a collab with him, and that ended in sort of a surprising manner. Tell us that story.
Well, I mean, it's kind of shocking for me because, I mean, it was fine. The collab went well. I think the reception of the video was really good. Obviously, it was just about dumplings and nothing political.
It was strictly dumplings.
Well, yeah. Very strictly, not the prettiest dumplings, but strictly dumplings. And so I wake up one day and I start getting messages from people saying he apologized about the video. And I was very just confused. Like, why would he apologize for the video? I don't understand. But I didn't really think too much of it until I think it was Hong Kong Free Press sent me an article asking for a quote. And I was like, what's going on? I have no idea what's going on. So then I look into it and I was going to message him and I realized he unfollowed me on Instagram.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, okay. All right. Something's up. I don't know why is he upset with me? So then I looked at the article and it was apparently posted an apology letter on Weibo, which is a Chinese Twitter social media site, basically stating that if he knew about my political affiliations, then may not be exactly reciting the words, but
well, I do have his words right here in this apology. He said, I wasn't aware of wasn't aware of his political thoughts and his past incorrect remarks about China. This is my negligence. Do you know what he's talking about? What are your incorrect remarks about China?
I have no idea. I have posted many a times about the Chinese Communist Party. I posted on June 4th.
The Tiananmen Square Massacre anniversary.
Tiananmen Square Massacre. I posted about the Uyghur issue, that when the Hong Kong umbrella protest was happening. I posted a lot about my support for the Hong Kong people trying to win their democracy and freedom. So I do a lot of these posts. The Uyghur issues, especially during Mulan. I mean, I do post these things quite often just to shed light on an issue I feel like is very underreported, but I stand by everything I post. So I have no idea which statements. I mean, people are feel free. I mean, my posts are still there. Feel free to look at them and see where I might have stated something incorrectly. So I don't know what he meant by that. And some people figured it was about the June 4th post. I have no idea. If it is, then I don't know what is incorrect about it.
So you think what happened was he got pressure from either a sponsor or maybe followers in China?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I must be wrestling some feathers in mainland China. I didn't know they follow me so closely. I guess I do now. That when I appeared in his video, like I guess what might have happened is people messaged him and was like, hey, this guy, his viewpoints are this and that, and you shouldn't be working with him. So I'm thinking it could be something like that. But at the end of the day, look, I get it. Like I said in my statement, I don't dislike him. I don't I don't have any ill will towards him. I don't feel any ill will towards him. The thing is, this thing never came up before. Like it's never occurred to me to be like, wait a minute, I should maybe I guess start warning people if they want to do a collab with me that they might get this kind of stuff from China. I just this stuff never occurred before. I feel like, I mean, there was one time like a few weeks ago I was on a podcast and they got some messages about oh, you shouldn't have Mike Chen on, but they brushed it off because I told them I told them what I stand for, not before the podcast, like just talking to them afterwards, when they brought this issue up to me. But it was very shocking to me that people would actually message people I'm collabing with and just say you shouldn't have them on, and exert so much pressure that a video is deleted. So.
Well, I think at this point I would just like to apologize to China for having Mike Chen on. I was unaware of his incorrect remarks. Please forgive me for this continued podcast. So I just want to be clear. So in this collab video you did with Uncle Roger, you didn't talk about politics. And
no, we talked about dumplings.
Strictly dumplings. And since then, he hasn't talked to you about any of this.
No, he has not. Like I said, I just woke up and found that he unfriended me on social media. And I wish he would have reached out so we could have a mature conversation about it. It could have worked out in a bunch of different ways. Like I think he could have just deleted the video or just say he doesn't agree with my viewpoints, but to kind of say my comments about China is incorrect, I feel like it's a little much. You didn't have to go that far.
It's interesting because in the Weibo, the comments on the Weibo post that he made, a lot of people seemed kind of surprised or just didn't know what he was apologizing for. And usually if it's like some big pile on that's like, a lot of Wumaos are coming, or like a lot of like, little pinks or people who are very nationalistic, like, that there's something happening. So people would know. So that makes it seem like maybe it was more of like a business thing, that it was like a business partner or a sponsor or something that, warned him. But like you said, this has never happened to you. I mean, you have a big YouTube channel. You have over 3 million subscribers. I mean, you're just as big, if not bigger than Uncle Roger.
No, it has never happened before. I've done dozens of collabs. This has never happened. But I guess I also haven't done a collab with someone who has audiences inside mainland China. So this could be something I should be aware of in the future. And look, I'm not out there to ruin anyone's business or ruin anyone's way of making money or anything like that. I mean, this is just a British guy, like not British guy, Malaysian guy. He's living in London. So I didn't think too much about anything. Again, like this is never something that ever crosses my mind before I do a collab. It's like, should I warn people that I said some stuff about China? Like I never even would consider thinking like that. But so that's why this whole thing was pretty shocking.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, of course, we're obviously hostile anti-China forces trying to destroy the motherland. I mean, that's obvious from anyone who watches our show. But when you're a food and travel blogger, it's like it shouldn't even have to intersect. Like you stand for human rights in China, but not as like a theme of your show.
No. And that's something I don't bring to my show. I don't think I've ever really brought to my show. I've talked about the fact that I practice Falun Gong.
Yeah, I actually was curious about it because I'm kind of amazed at your response to Nigel. Like, I am furious for you. And yet you seem so calm about it and like you wish him no ill will. How does your faith play into that? Like that response seems incredible to me.
I mean, well, look, it's again, I don't fault anybody for, whatever they think is in their best interest. Like everyone has their own priorities. Like I've been really upfront for many years. I practice Falun Gong, which is based on truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance. And ever since I started practicing a long time ago, I've been trying to make myself better, by cultivating through those three principles. So I don't try to blame someone or try to, right away react in a way that like, oh, this person's fault, or react in anger. Like I don't try to do that. I try to take a look at a situation as calmly as I can. And yeah, I mean, it's tough when the CCP wants to get you, or Chinese netizens, they want to get their, what they want you to go a certain way. I mean, since then, of course, I've been getting a lot of backlash as well. Like I've been getting a lot of support and love from like, the Uyghur community, Hong Kong people, and like people who want democracy in China, but also backlash because people are like, oh, you practice Falun Gong, blah, 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 you're in an evil cult and stuff like that. For me, like, again, my show is there's nothing really political about it, just food and travel. And I don't really try to bring any of the political stuff into that. I certainly don't try to say, oh, everyone should practice Falun. Like, I never done that. Like, it's my faith. It's something that helped me. So, and that's why, like, I feel like it's important to keep bringing up issues in China, especially ones that prohibit the freedom of religion, prohibit the freedom of belief, prohibit the freedom of speech, because these are basic human rights that I should have, that I have right now in the US. But even so, I'm getting attacked somewhat as just like, hey, you're this and that. And I wish people can learn more about Falun Gong, and it's not evil. Obviously, it saved my life. I was going through severe depression back in college and contemplated, killing myself multiple times. And this is what kind of pulled me from the brinks. So I'm never going to say anything bad about something that was so helpful to me and to my family. My dad was a very aggressive, huge temper person that after he started cultivating and really nowadays you see him, he's the most compassionate person. So it really changed our whole family, my mom as well. So I'm not going to say anything. I would never like say anything bad. I would always try to defend Falun Gong to anybody. But I'm getting messages like he hates mixed race people. He hates gays. Like it's so ridiculous that like the amount of absurdity of these comments is just like, I hate I've been in plenty of mixed race relationships. As long as you're a good person, you can love whoever you want. You can do whatever makes you happy. As long as you're a good person, then I love you. Like, I don't have any hate towards anybody. So this kind of brought a lot of that stuff up as well. But yeah, so kind of a shocking week for me.
Definitely. And actually, let me ask you this question, because I have seen this in recently in Western media, not Chinese state-run media, but in Western media, reports that Falun Gong practitioners believe Trump will bring about the apocalypse. Is that true?
I mean, look, I have no idea. But I never read anything like that. I try to stay as apolitical as I can, because honestly, I don't want to get into more politics, especially here, because it's depressing and it's heartbreaking. I just couldn't take any of the political stuff anymore. It was like, I just feel like this country kind of really split, and it upped my anxiety just kind of trying to follow the stuff. So I stopped doing it. So as a Falun Gong practitioner myself, I don't think anything like that. I'm just trying to be as good as I can, as compassionate as I can, and keep trying to be compassionate and truthful and tolerant, and just work on myself. And do my meditations, and that's all I'm trying to do. Just trying to improve myself.
So Donald Trump is not a core part of a Chinese spiritual practice that began in 1992?
I didn't read anything like that, but I mean, not for me.
The funny thing is about that claim is like, so the claim that like Falun Gong practitioners believe Trump will bring the apocalypse. Like, out of context, I could believe like Falun Gong is like incredibly left-wing then, because it seems like the left is always like, Trump is going to bring about the end of the world.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
Yeah, you get it? Yeah, anyways.
Well, I find it interesting that like a lot of the things that you were talking about, Mike, they actually kind of originate in Chinese propaganda.
Yeah.
Essentially. Even like some of these like claims from Western media, or what you were saying about people saying that you were in a cult or whatever, that is like straight from the party line. And it's interesting to me that even outside China, so many people would just believe that and use it to kind of accuse you or to like invalidate like you as a person or what you're saying.
Right. It's like attacking the person rather than attacking what they actually said.
Right. And I'm really passive at this point in my life. I don't want to get into conflicts. I don't want to get into controversies. I just want to eat my food. I want to film my videos because I know they're uplifting. They help a lot of people, make people feel happier. That's really what I want to do. But a lot of attacks and just straight up nonsense stuff. And also, I think another one was, he's in charge of marketing for NTD. I'm not. Like, haven't been inside that office in over 6 years. And I mean, back when I was there, I was, doing, some YouTube stuff, like when we first did Off the Great Wall, but that was a long time ago. I did some other stuff, but like, I haven't been there in 6 years. So I'm not currently the head of NTD anything.
Is that it's supposed to be an insult?
Well, I think they're like, oh, he's in charge of this media that's spreading all this propaganda in the U.S. Like, look, I don't even really watch NTD. I don't know what they're doing right now, but I'm certainly not in charge of anything besides my own YouTube channels.
Well, I think it is important that people are held accountable for jobs they had in the past, because that has an influence on what they're doing now. So this is why I'd like to take this opportunity to say I used to work for Mrs. Fields Cookies. And China Uncensored is really an extension of the Mrs. Fields industry.
That's good to know, man.
Yeah.
I used to work at a Jewish day camp.
Uh-oh. Let's back away from this now. But it is very, very interesting. Like, I've noticed, like, for example, you've talked about the Uyghurs. Nobody, when they're talking about, like, mass concentration camps and forced sterilization of Uyghurs, you don't have the media going like, but they're Muslims. Do you know about the Muslims? Do you know what the Muslims believe? And yet Falun Gong is treated entirely differently.
Right. That does happen, like you said. So I don't know. I don't know what it is that scares people so much about. It's really like, I'm really mellow now because of Falun Gong. I didn't used to be this way. I didn't used to be all that compassionate. I didn't used to be all that calm. Anything would set me off. I used to get in fights all the time. But I can only say how it helped me. Again, pull me back from the brinks of despair, I guess, hopelessness, and my whole family too. So I don't know why there is this target. And I think a lot of it has to do, like you said, Shelly, like stuff from the state propaganda. Like people really need to look at when the persecution of Falun Gong started. Like, it was something that was applauded by the government, like, for so many years as a great Qigong exercise, and so many people started practicing it, and it was so great until one day it wasn't great anymore. That's what the government decided, and the crackdown began. And then it's labeled cult, and and the practitioners like are systematically tortured and persecuted. And this is why I stand so strong with other groups that are persecuted by the CCP as well, because I know I am part of a group that if I went to China right now, I probably wouldn't be able to come back. I don't know. And this is something, again, is something like none of it, the persecution of Falun Gong, the persecution of Uyghurs, Tibetans, these are not news topics that are really popular. They're not topics that come up a lot. So I think, at least for me, I feel like I have a responsibility to talk about it.
Do you think, like, what happened with Nigel has given you an opportunity to do that?
I think I had to clarify the comments that he made, because he did say my comments about China were inaccurate. So that's why I went on record and I talked to the press about this, because I wanted to stand by my comments and not just let people think that, yeah, okay, he said my comments were inaccurate, then I just kind of back down from that. They're not inaccurate. They're probably very, very tame compared to so much of what's happening over there.
Well, if anything, this has shown me the real reach of the Chinese Communist Party's censorship. The fact, Like when I first found out about Uncle Roger, I never would imagine that there would come a time where he would be like desperately self-censoring and censoring you or anyone else to because of a persecution the Chinese Communist Party began over 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what happened with this whole thing. I don't know who reached out to him or talked to him. But yeah, I mean, the extent of the reach of the CCP censorship, it's global. It's very global. And anybody who wants any part of the China market, which a lot of people do, you can't have any part of you that they don't like. But the thing is, like, they might like you today, but they might not like you tomorrow for a different reason. So, I mean, look at what happened to Jack Ma. I mean, I don't know exactly what's going on with that, but nobody knows where he is. I mean, he was one of the richest guy in China, but now where is he? Like, nobody knows. So it's kind of like getting in bed with a snake. You don't know when it's gonna cuddle with you, I guess. Do snakes cuddle? I have no idea.
Clearly, you're a man who has never been in bed with a snake.
Well, that's too bad. You should. No, just kidding. I don't know what's like.
Well, I mean, I think even your dad, Jackie Chan, right? Spent years. Like, I remember very clearly, like, when I was a kid, I would watch Jackie Chan action movies with my dad. And then when I grew up and like realized his complete toadying to the Chinese Communist Party, I was so disappointed in him. But then a few years ago, he got in trouble with the Chinese Communist Party. Yeah,
I mean, even prominent Communist Party members are not safe from being persecuted by the Communist Party.
Yeah. So, yeah, it doesn't help you in the end. Has it made you concerned about, your own YouTube channel and your own, like, being able to, do business with other people or that kind of stuff since this scandal happened?
I mean, it definitely came across my mind. I mean, I don't work with any brands in China, obviously, but it has crossed my mind. I mean, they could censor me. I mean, they have the power to reach out to people and censor me, I guess. But we all got to sleep at night. We all got to look ourselves in the mirror the next morning and be okay with ourselves. So, I mean, I don't have the most giant platform in the world, but I'll lend a voice to those who really need it. And again, there's not a lot of people speaking up about the CCP. I know a lot of people, influencers, apologize to the CCP. K-pop stars, I know there's a couple instances of that. There's not a lot of people standing up to the CCP. So even if it costs me what I have, then again, at least I can sleep at night. So we all have to make a decision in our lives to, what do you want? You want fame? You want money? Or you want a clear conscience at the end?
And I think some broader context for people watching is that, even multinational companies have done essentially what Uncle Roger did. Somebody will post something about the Dalai Lama or Hong Kong, as happened in the NBA, and then there'll just be this masked apology of like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. So, like, if the Chinese Communist Party is able to pressure gigantic international corporations, from some perspective, I can understand how, like, this one little YouTuber, Nigel Ng, can be swayed by that. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I said I'd never held any ill will towards him. I even understood why it happened, but for me, I just wanted to clarify the incorrect Chinese comment part, because I don't want people to feel like I've said stuff that wasn't accurate and I wasn't standing up for what I said.
And what I hope comes out of this is, especially after the coronavirus and everything that's happened over the past year, I would hope there is a movement in the American society of people like choosing like not to do business with China because of these crimes against humanity. Apple, instead of lobbying against a Uyghur forced labor bill, should be supporting that kind of effort. People should be buying, like, I know you have a new chili oil that you're selling. Like, you should be the new Lao Ganma. That's what I'm saying, Mike.
You mean Lao Gan Pa?
I would buy that.
And yeah, I think that is important. Like, you do have this very cool platform that is an alternative to, like, how should people look at Nigel Ng, Uncle Roger? Like, he has cave to pressure from an authoritarian regime. That versus you, who is like still incredibly tolerant about this. I'm more mad than you are.
Well, I appreciate the support, Chris. But yeah, like it's no sense in getting too mad or upset about anything. Just I feel always calmly explaining the situation works best.
That what? That people what?
Mike, we talked a little bit about the backlash or the hate that you've been getting. How are most people taking it on your channel? Are they pretty supportive?
Yeah, I think when the stories came out, most people have been very supportive, and I do really appreciate that. And a lot of positive messages. It's just when you start digging into the Twitter stuff, it just stuff just start coming out. Very much appreciate, like, especially people from Hong Kong, people from Taiwan, people who have known firsthand of the oppression of the CCP. Again, the Uyghur community, Tibetans have reached out. So I appreciate everyone's, support, because these are people who are genuinely affected firsthand by what the CCP has done. And I've said this many a times, like, I love China. Like, people think I'm anti-China. I'm not anti-China at all. I love China. I wish I could go back tomorrow and live forever there. If I could, I would. But CCP is not China. I mean, CCP took over China, over 70 years ago, and the deaths and destructions, and I get some messages saying, oh, it's so much better now. The CCP helped so many Chinese people. I choose to believe that if they didn't take over China, China would be even better. It would be even more prosperous, because the Chinese people are that smart, that hardworking, and that country would have prospered dramatically, and without all this censorship and lack of freedom that people are experiencing right now.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the people who like message you and say it's better in China now, because I mean, we were both born in China, and a lot of people are proud of how far it's come, but at the same time, when you know the truth that they are putting millions of Uyghurs in concentration camps, when they are harvesting organs from people, when they are literally committing genocide
from people like you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, Mike, people who've been tortured in China. Like when you know that that's what's happening behind the scenes, it becomes very hard to, say, well, yeah, it's doing so much better, because I don't know. There's always the terrible stuff that's happening that people don't know about, and it's very hard to talk to people about it in China or who are from China, because they want to be proud of their country. And it's difficult to, nobody wants to think that, like, oh my God, like, my country, my government, the Chinese Communist Party, who I've been taught is the equivalent of, my country and me in so many ways, it is doing all that terrible stuff, because it's almost like, you're accusing me of doing all of those terrible things. So it's very, I understand it's very difficult to deal with.
Sure. And, I think that distinction is very hard to undo, where you have to kind of distinguish the CCP as the CCP and China as China. But again, I grew up there. I still have Mao Zedong poems that I memorized in my head. I can't get it out. So the indoctrination, the stuff they put into your head ever since you're a kid is very hard to undo.
I wonder if we should just lighten things up a little bit, because you do have an incredible show, like 3 million subscribers, Strictly Dumpling on Strictly Dumpling. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, like, food? Like, what, like, you do this thing. What does food mean for you, and like why is it such a focus of your life?
Well, I feel like I've always encouraged people to explore different cultures, because I feel like we all have a notion of what things are and how places are before we go there. And this is something I experienced firsthand when I was living in the Midwest, where everyone thought all Asians are Chinese, or all Asian food is fried rice or chow mein or General Tso's chicken, something like that. Like, obviously I'm not trying to say like that's still the case today, whereas, there's a lot more availability of shows and the internet and people are being able to experience more diversity. But back then, this was what I experienced firsthand from my friends and people around me. So I always wanted to do a show where it can explore different cultures, and food is something I always felt like the best way to explore any culture is taking a bite out of it, because food is there's always a story behind it. Not only is it good, it's nourishing, it's fulfilling. It is also a lot of food items are historic, and some of them, like I know a lot of Chinese food have legendary tales behind them about their origins and why they are what they are. So I wanted to show that to people, and also like I love to eat, so I love to take people with me and show them all the great stuff out there, to encourage people to travel as much as they can, to see as much as they can, and get to know as many different cultures as they can.
What's a Chinese dish that you've done a video about that has like a rich story about Chinese culture?
Well, we're on the topic of dumplings. Dumpling is one of the most historic foods in China, and obviously it's something that every single culture has now, a form of dumpling. But it's got a very amazing story, and obviously it's one of the staples of Chinese cooking and Chinese food. So that's why I love it so much, and that's why my channel is called Strictly Dumpling, because back there was a time where all I ate was dumpling.
Really? Why?
Well, I mean, I was broke. I was living in a basement in Brooklyn, and if you go to these Chinatown dumpling places, you can buy like 50 dumplings for $7. I mean, it's just such a great deal.
I remember those.
Yeah, so you just go and boil some dumplings. They're delicious. They're filling. But after a while, you start looking like a dumpling. That's never good. So that's when I stopped.
Is MSG really the essence of flavor?
Look, people hate on MSG. I don't really hate on MSG. Because I've been eating MSG since I was a kid. But you could do a lot of flavor without MSG. That's for sure. You got to do the hot oil. That's what you got to do.
And that's why you made your own.
That's why I made my own hot oil.
Get it done right. So really, food was a way for you to introduce China to the West.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Clearly anti-China. What? What is this world?
Oh my gosh. When's the last time you went to China, Mike?
When I was 15 years old. Again, I loved it. Like when I went back, my parents sent me back as punishment because they really didn't have time to look after me because their restaurants were so busy. I ended up loving it. I didn't want to come back. So I grew up, I didn't come to the US until I was 8. Then I went back for, when I was 13, my parents sent me back, like I just said, but 15 was the last time I stepped in China. And then I started cultivating Falun Gong when I was 20-ish, and I couldn't really go back ever since then.
You started practicing Falun Gong in the United States?
Yes, in the United States.
Okay. And so you said your parents were involved in the restaurant business as well. So did like any love of food come from them?
Well, I mean, they taught me what not to eat a lot of times because we had a westernized Chinese food. So I was always told to stay away from the General Tso's chickens and the crab rangoons and things like that.
But it's okay.
We're supposed to stay away from those? Those are the most delicious things.
Yes, until you discover traditional Chinese cooking, which is so much better and more variety than the 30 things you see in a typical Chinese to-go place.
Oh, that's a relief. I thought you were going to say something about like how those things are made with like, years old oil or something.
They're made with pretty old oil. That is another reason that my mom didn't want me to eat it. Because apparently, I don't know much about it now. I just remember her telling me, "Oh, this is made from dark oil." I don't know the difference. So, I think dark oil, maybe it's just oil that we don't throw out as often, something like that.
Well, why don't you tell us a bit about traditional Chinese cooking? Because I know it's actually a pretty big, broad, diverse thing. And I don't really know much about it. But so it's more than dumplings.
Well, traditional Chinese cooking is split into many different categories. Like some people say it's 5 categories, some people say it's 8 categories. There's Huaiyang, which is the Shanghainese cuisines, the Cantonese, the Shandong, the Northeastern, and Sichuan. And each has very distinct flavors. And I always tell people this, like China is one of the few countries in the world, I feel like, where you could travel from city to city, maybe even village to village, and you'll find something completely different. So you can eat Chinese food for the rest of your life and not even be able to taste even a fraction of all the different varieties. And that's what makes traditional Chinese food so incredible, is because there's so many different ethnic groups in China. There's over 56 ethnic groups in China, each all with their own clothing, their own customs, their own foods. You take that and you add all the provinces, all the cities. There's just countless amazing cuisines in China. So that's why I love it so much.
Yeah, I know, like Tibetan food and Uyghur food is very different from everything else and delicious. Yeah.
I remember when I was in China, because I trying like all these different foods from Dongbei, which would be like Beijing area, and then like I went down to Yunnan province, which is in the southwest, and like I was very confused by what this food was, because I was like, is this Chinese food? Like I never seen this at like Beijing Panda Happiness Garden.
Okay, is that what you're
like,
eating in China?
Well, no, but I mean, I was so surprised by this like variety of stuff that I'd never seen, never heard of. And that was just like, I haven't been as many places in China as you have, I'm sure. But like, it's just, yeah, I mean, just so many amazing things. And that's not, you mentioned 5 types of cuisine. That's not even mentioning like Tibetan food and Uyghur food. And then some of the other ethnic minority food is all just amazing stuff.
If you want to really break it down, like I said, every ethnic group has their own food. Every province has their own food. Every city has their own food. And it's all vastly different than each other.
Hey, is it true that a McDonald's in China offered a Spam and Oreo sandwich?
I wish I had some of that. That actually sounds not bad.
Really? That sounds terrible.
You know what it is? Because when you're cooking Spam, you're supposed to coat it with some sort of sugary topping.
Yeah, I saw your video about that, and I'm like, I realized that I've been doing it wrong.
Yeah, you got to do that nice caramelized layer of sweetness outside the Spam. It's just life-changing. Pro tip.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
This is the 101st podcast we've done, and I think I've finally learned something.
About Spam?
Yes, the things that matter.
Okay, the things that matter.
Have I just trashed all of the work we've been doing for 8 years?
I don't know. I think the Spam Oreo thing got you much more excited than I was expecting.
Well, I was thinking about if they have McRibs in China, since the McRib is back, and I really love the McRib. And then that reminded me about the Spam Oreo thing.
I like I said, I'm all up for interesting foods. So this could be good.
What's the strangest thing you've ever eaten?
Too many. I went to a restaurant that served exclusively insects. I don't know if you guys ever had a spoonful of ant larva in your mouth.
No. They were dead, right?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, they're larvae, so
Naturally sweet.
Sweet. Really?
Wait, so what's the most delicious insect you've ever eaten?
I don't think I could ever say any insect's really delicious. I mean, because they're so small, right? When you're eating any of them, it's more like you're tasting the spices, where you're tasting the texture. You're not really tasting the insects. So I think the one that went down the easiest are flash fried caterpillars, because it's like a little puffy crunch, and that's it. It's like a little insecty Cheetos. So it's not that unpleasant. You should ask, what is the least unpleasant thing I've eaten?
Yeah. Well, I remember I was in Australia, and like a wilderness survival guy gave me I think it was like a grub or something that he cooked over an open fire.
Lion King. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was actually pretty good. It was just like kind of very like oily and fatty and a little crispy. It was actually pretty good.
Is it slimy yet satisfying?
Hey, we were talking about the Lion King earlier. Yeah. That's weird. Synchronicity. I had a good question. Oh, well, I mean, like lobsters are basically the insects of the sea.
Yeah, with delicious meat. not goo on the inside.
True. I'm just imagining if we could genetically engineer like a really big caterpillar, it would probably be delicious.
No.
Yeah, nothing could possibly go wrong with that idea.
Most of the beef we
No.
eat is cloned beef, I've heard.
No, that's not true. Is it?
I heard it and I didn't look into it.
No sense in playing God in that one.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you for advice on how to find good food when traveling because we are terrible at this. Like every time we go to somewhere, for China Uncensored, like we'll go to Taiwan or Hong Kong or something, we don't know what to eat and we'll end up at like a McDonald's at like 11 p.m. at night. Help us.
You got to ask the locals. Cab drivers are a really good source of information because all they do is drive around and eat. So ask the locals. If there's a spot that a lot of them say to go to, then you hit the jackpot.
Good to
That's
know.
really good tips.
Yeah.
Do you give these kind of tips on your show?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no yelping in a lot. No, well, not always, but there's not always an app that tells you what's good in other countries. So got to rely on the locals. They know what's best.
Nice. And you just got back from a food tour of Korea, correct? What was that like?
Korea is one of my favorite places to go to, so it was very enjoyable. I love Korean food. It was one of my favorite foods. And I got to try some really good stuff at Shake Shack in Korea,
Really? Like what?
like a gochujang burger, which was delicious because most people don't know in Korea, the meat quality is so much better. So the burgers actually taste really amazing. Like they taste like dry aged meat. They may be dry aged, I don't even know, but a lot of quality is in their food. So the fast food places in the US don't really compare to the ones in other countries, especially in Asia.
Wow. And so what was your favorite country to travel around and try the food?
I love Japan because the Japanese people, I mean, I wish I could go to China. That's would be my number one answer. But Japan is beautiful because every city you go to, again, has their own flavors and distinctive foods. And also the Japanese people are pretty darn amazing. Like their dedication to food is incredible. Like they'll grow a watermelon and they'll sell it for $150. And you take one bite, you're like, that was the best $150 I ever spent.
Wow.
Whoa. Have you been to that famous sushi place?
Like the Jiro loves sushi thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard it's extremely overrated by my local friends.
Oh. Spicy.
They told me it's not really a good environment. It's just going, it's in a train station or something. That's what they're telling me. I never been. But they recommended a lot of other sushi places. So been trying to get into that a little more.
Okay.
Have you ever had whale in Japan?
No, I have not had whale. I think that's something I don't want to have. I feel like it's kind of obviously it's a cultural thing, but like I think they're beautiful creatures. I really don't think a cow's that beautiful, so I can eat a burger with no remorse. I mean, some cows are really cute. I just have to kind of tune out how cute they are sometimes. But yeah, I don't think I can eat a whale.
Well, I know there's one restaurant that we both agree is a place we would really like to go back to, but probably can't. And it's that McDonald's in Admiralty, Hong Kong, that is like the most futuristic, far out McDonald's where you can order everything.
Hong Kong is so great. I really wish I could go back there again. Hong Kong is just such a wonderful place, and food around every single corner. So never go hungry over there.
Yeah. We found a place that was recommended to us by a friend in Taiwan. We never would have found this. This was like not a white people restaurant. No offense, Shelley. It was like you had to follow a maze into like a back alley or something, and they served, it was basically like a kind of macaroni and cheese with pig cheek, crispy pig cheek. It was fantastic.
I mean, pig cheeks are very nice. They are the one of the most juicy parts of the pig, lean but juicy.
Yeah. Well, that's why I really like the Filipino sisig, which that has a cool story, where it's basically as a result of like U.S. Military bases in there, like there was not a lot of food around, so people would just buy the pig heads, the leftover pig heads from the U.S. Army troops, and they basically used pig cheek and pig liver and pig ear to throw it all together and create this amazing dish.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to Army stew, the story of Army stew.
Yeah, in Korea. which is more spam, right?
A lot of spam,
They're little hot dogs. Yeah.
a lot of cheap ingredients, but it's amazing. It's amazing flavor.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about Korean food is the metal chopsticks. I really have a hard time with those compared to wooden ones.
Originally, they used bronze only because it was able to detect poison for royalty. So that's why they started using the bronze cookwares. But it's nice because you get to eat your food. And if someone's trying to attack you from behind, you can use it as a weapon.
Jackie Chan really was your father, wasn't he?
Now you know the rest of the story.
Yeah. Well, clearly, even if Nigel Ng doesn't want to do a collab with you, I think the lesson from this is we should do some kind of food collab at some point. I'd be down for that.
Well, I'm always happy to eat with you guys.
Awesome. When the coronavirus is over and we can actually meet somewhere. Originally, we kind of planned this to be a hot pot interview, but besides that being probably disgusting for everyone watching, logistics coronavirus-wise make that quite difficult.
Oh yeah, the audio of that would be terrible. Imagining you're listening to this on Spotify or something.
ASMR. Oh yeah, if you don't even have the video, just random. I think we made the right choice.
Well, when it's all over, just save up all that pent up hunger and just feast.
Nice. The General Tso's chicken is on me, Mike.
Oh man.
Anyways, Mike, it was great having you on. Good luck with everything. What do you think is coming next with either your show or the situation with Uncle Roger?
I mean, I don't know. Just taking a day at a time. My show is still releasing, so I hope no more shocking stuff. But I guess that's the life sometimes. Sometimes things happen. So we'll see. That's the only thing I that's my biggest takeaway from last year is you can have all the plans you want. Sometimes things happen.
Well, Mike, I just wanted to tell you this because we did a part of our headlines episode that released today. We talked about the situation with you and Uncle Roger, and somebody commented, I love Mikey Chen from Strictly Dumpling. He's got a heart of gold and a bottomless pit for a stomach.
Well, I appreciate that. Whoever commented. But yeah, I think we all should have a bottomless stomach. That's makes the world happier.
Food brings people together. And definitely to anyone watching, be sure after watching this, you go over and subscribe to Strictly Dumpling.
Mike, how do they find you on social media?
Strictly Dumpling. They can Instagram. It's Mike XINGCHEN. I might be thinking about getting off Twitter because that's kind of a cesspool.
Yeah, Twitter's the worst.
So, but yeah, Instagram is great.
All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for being here, Mike. Best of luck to you.
Well, I appreciate you guys for having me. Yeah, hot pot when this whole thing is over.
Done. And we won't film it. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty hungry now.
I could do hot pot.
I could do hot pot.
Yeah?
We could bring the stuff to the studio.
Yeah. That sounds like more of a pain.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyways, we have hot pot to eat, so thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Strictly Dumpling. It's a fun show.
It is.
And maybe encourage Nigel Ng to do the right thing.
Yeah, I really liked Mike's message with that. Just trying to understand where he's coming from and not hold it against him. I just wish that more people had that kind of feeling towards people who've wronged them. It would be a better world.
If a lot of people loved each other, the world would be a better place.
Do I get that quote? You're quoting something.
The Room. You don't? Well, I guess you haven't seen it 100 million times.
I've only seen The Room once.
Seen it once with you.
Oh my gosh, it was the whole point of the movie. The whole climactic message behind Tommy Wiseau's art. You don't remember that?
No.
All right, over Hot Pot, we're going to be watching The Room.
I'm suddenly really busy.
They're gonna love it.
I can't. My living room is not available.
You can learn a lot from The Room, especially in this day and age. Man of our time. Thanks for watching China Unscripted. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell.
I'm Shelley Zhang.
And I'm Matt Ganesta.
We'll see you next time.